without any more introduction, I'm just gonna get my dear friend Cassandra on stage. She's gonna be our first speaker. And our quick fun fact about Cassandra, last time I saw her was drinking wine or beer while bathing in a blue lagoon in Iceland, and it was awesome. So, okay, a round of applause for Cassandra.
Is that the last time we saw each other? Wow. Usually you MC and you have like fun facts and you're supposed to get it from the speaker. I was like, no, just make something up. So that laugh was genuine because I had no idea. I'd almost forgotten that even had happened. It was delicious, delicious wine. Has anyone been to Iceland? The Blue Lagoon? Oh my gosh. Right? Amazing. Oh. Yeah, I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that. Like, it was fabulous. So if you ever go to Iceland, be there. All right, let me make sure this is working. All right. Yo. I'm Cassandra. If you can't tell by my giant face eating a donut, that's the same person. And I joined Google, and I used to say recently, and I think I say less recently now because I'm about a month away from my year. And I joined the Go team to focus on open source strategy for the Go project. And it's been super fun, but it's also been like a really crazy year. And experiencing things inside Google versus outside Google is majorly different. I started as a community organizer. Has anyone been to GoSF? Woo. Does anyone remember me? Oh, yay! Okay, so a couple of you remember me. So I used to organize GoSF more heavily, and I used to MC all the time, and I would jump up and down a lot, and I would be really bossy because it makes me happy. So I started off as a community organizer, and then did dev marketing, DevRel, a lot of dev education with things like continuous integration platforms and Lambda before Lambda existed and all this stuff. And I fell in love with Go, and I fell in love with the Go community. And when I got the job at Google, it really was a dream come true for me. So I've given this talk a couple times. I'm not gonna lie, right? The recirculation of talks, it's like a speaker thing that you're not supposed to say out loud. And this is the first time that I have given it in the United States. And I've given it in London, I've given it in Brazil, and each time I think this will be the last time that I give it, but then someone comes up to me or someone DMs me and they just say something that makes me feel like, you know what, we'll keep on with this. We'll keep on with this message. So originally when I made this talk, it was because I was really struggling with what to talk about. Like I could do the generic state of Go talk, this is what we're doing, this is where things are going. And I realized that things are changing so quickly and Go is growing so massively that there was more to say. There was more direction to give. And later today, Ian Lance-Taylor will go over where Go is going and Go to and all that good stuff. But I just want to talk about what it means to scale rapidly with intent. So we're now reaching about 1.5 to 2 million users worldwide, depending on who you ask. Last year, we doubled in user base. And when I originally fell in love with Go and the community, primarily here in San Francisco, it was a fraction of that. We've scaled in a way no one could have predicted. Everyone is just a little bit surprised at how well we have grown. And we're now looking at, like, these numbers are outdated. So there's over, I think, 170 meetups now worldwide. There's 22 conferences, I think, next year. There was, like, 18 this year. And 2 years ago, there was 12. So that's a lot. And Go is quite firmly one of the top languages that developers want to learn next. More and more projects are understanding and recognizing the potential that Go has for their teams and technologies. And this is a huge feat. We should all be proud of this. Whether we joined, a day ago or a year ago or 5 years ago, this is rad. Go is being talked about as the language of the cloud. There was a talk in London that Aditya gave, and he said, and kind of proved up on stage that Go is one of the languages that the internet runs on. This is fabulous, but not Gopher fabulous, but not super surprising because we know we're here because Go is a great language and we have a very passionate, excited user base. But still, over the last couple of months, I've been, by the last couple of months, I kind of mean like the last 6 to 8, I've been thinking about the problems that our community will face and have faced in the future, and the issues that come with scaling. Discoverability is one of them. People don't know where to find the answers to their questions. Feeling like you're still part of a community the larger you get. This is a huge issue. And it's one of the reasons why regional conferences and regional meetups are so very important to cultivating who we are as a people, as Gophers. So I do think that we have somewhat of a duty as part of this community, and in a sense as open source contributors. Everyone here is a contributor. I think it's important that we really look at how we communicate and determine, again, intentionally, who we want to be as a community. So this is a tenet of Go. And we released some slide decks with generic tenets and some information that the community could use and internally we could use. And I read it, and it's like Go's features should interact in predictable and consistent ways. And that is awesome. That's pretty much what you want out of a programming language, right? Right? I know this is semi-interactive. I ask you questions. It's crazy. But my issue with this, and my issue with actually having this in even a slide deck, was that humans are never like this. Humans are not. We are messy, AF. We are messy. We're imperfect creatures, and we are unpredictable and inconsistent in all ways. And it depends on things like last night, the kids were up and I'm exhausted. Or what I ate for breakfast, or did I skip breakfast? Or did someone cut me off in traffic? But this quote still holds true. When you choose a language, you're choosing more than the technical trade-offs. You're choosing to become a part of a community, whether you want it or not. That was whether you want it or not. And the community is the core of what you're choosing. When you choose an open source project, the community, especially in open source, which this is, has some of the greatest impact of what you'll experience in the language. There are, I have yet to be able to do a talk with taking him out. It's just awesome. There are so many reasons people love Go. Here, Brian touches on a theme of energy and leadership enablement, and the availability of mentors in the Go community, which is something that I saw really early on and frankly admired. Here, Logan describes a sense of openness and continuous learning that I have seen in the entire world. Everywhere I go and see Gophers, it's just full of questions and learning and wanting answers. And Carlton touches on thoughts of humbleness and inclusiveness and the things that are in the language itself that transition into the community. Sorry if I went super fast on those. I know it's hard to read and listen to me. So even with all of that, we're all very different. We're part of something, but we're very different. And our experiences with positivity can differ in this community. Some people may find it great and awesome, but every now and then there might be something that happens, we scratch our heads, and this is just part of being human. and part of that inconsistency and unpredictability. So Go is setting out to do what its goal was, which is to be awesome. But in the end, Go is just the language. It's built for consumption. People are the ones that dictate how it's perceived and what its true impact will be. So overall, this talk comes down to, I'm a little worried. Not in like a ginormous way, although I am definitely a worrywart. But as a community in this moment, as we've grown, as we've doubled over the last year, as we scale, what will we become? Who will we be in 1 to 5 years? What happens if we aren't intentional about what we want our community to be? What if we decide to not be opinionated about what acceptable behavior is or is not? So I look at my slides, right? Speaker notes, very helpful. And originally I had wrote, you're just getting a bunch of like deep information about how I function on stage. I look at my notes and I wrote that this talk is not normal for me. And a few talks ago, it really wasn't. I was so uncomfortable, and I'm still very, very uncomfortable getting on stage and talking about these things that are not technical. And everyone is like, yo, why are you gonna do a talk on being nice? Like, for real. Like, why is this gonna be the talk that you're doing today? But I just want everyone to understand and really internalize the impact that you have as an individual on a community. Sometimes it can feel like we're all just, clogging away at our computers, and sorry if I, with the mic, we're clogging away at our computers and we're not really part of anything, but individuals matter. And so this talk is about how you contribute and how your actions affect people behind the code. All right, so mental exercises. You're really lucky because I didn't have enough time to edit this, and I'm saying lucky. I was gonna make us meditate on this slide. I know, I really was. I was like, I'm gonna make them close their eyes and just relax and take deep breaths. Maybe next time. But this time, I'm just gonna ask that you do a little bit of a mental exercise for me. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I just want you to think about them and internalize them. And most of all, be honest with yourself, because I can't hear your mind. I am not judging you. You are not being judged. It's important to not be judgmental in here. So let's just be human and think about how we interact. What do we want? Who do we want to be as the Go community? What is important to you? What should be important to us? Do we want to be proactive or reactive? Do we want to proactively look for what is necessary long-term in the community? Or do we want to reactively take action based on whatever is happening on Twitter that day? Are we an exclusive or an inclusive community? Are we a community that all types of people can join with all kinds of opinions, even those that differ from our own? Do we take said opinions, think about where they would come from? Do we pause and accept that someone coming from a different language, from a different technology, from a different community, from a different country is going to have a different way of communicating and definitely a different perspective? Perhaps that perspective could better us and inform us in the end. Do we accept those differences or do we simply dismiss them? Further, are we approachable or elitist? Which is genuinely, when I joined the Go community, something that was coming up a lot, especially in San Francisco, ironically. It felt very elitist. Are we a community that any developer of any level could join? Or are we only meant for the top 5, 10, 1%? I said that randomly, didn't I? It's confusing. Keep you on your toes. Are we meant to make most developers productive or only some of them? If the answer is most, have we provided all of the materials that developers would need of all levels to approach us? Or are we still represented as sometimes unapproachable? So to me, all of these could kind of be boiled down into, are we nurturing or neglectful? Are we a community that fosters innovation and accepts differences and attempts to become better based upon those differences? Or do we neglect and ignore anything that seems alien to us? Are we a community that is okay with being different? That is okay with sometimes being contrarian? And can we reconcile that without being combative? And lastly, and frankly, the most important for me in my job, do we want to stick around? Are we a language that will have long-lasting impact on developers' lives, or is Go just a fad? I'm sure these questions are like, I just don't, whatever, like, cool, that's fine, like, yeah, sure. No, the good stuff, whatever the good things are, that's what I choose. But the point is to evoke a little bit of emotion that you might be uncomfortable with. It's okay. But let's assume that we want to be proactive, inclusive, approachable, nurturing, and sustainable, because it's my talk and I get to decide. What's really behind all of that? I think it's something called empathetic collaboration. I think that our biggest blocker for empathetic collaboration, which I don't know if it actually exists as a term, I kind of just made that up the first time I wrote this and stuck with it. But I think that the biggest blocker to this is the internet. More specifically, how we interact on the internet. Because let's be for real. You can tell I'm from the Bay Area. I'm from Richmond, right across the bridge. Yeah. Ooh, sorry. Is this recorded? People can be super mean online, y'all. Like, there seems to be this lack of accountability with the written word that has become our main mode of communication online. People feel that because they're, and I'm seriously doing air quotes, anonymous, right? Sometimes they are, and that's weird. Like, that's weird. Don't do that. But like, some people think, oh, well, they don't really know me. I'm anonymous. That the normal processing of a social contract just goes out the window. It's gone. Things people would never say out loud or in person get typed. And in some ways, as we look at the history of humans, this can be amazing. This can be liberating. We can finally say the thing that's just been grating on us. It can be empowering, but it can also be extremely hurtful. For me personally, in my opinion, because it's my talk, the ability to maintain compassion and empathy via online communications is one of the most undervalued interpersonal characteristics of our society today. It is one of the most important traits to have in the moments before we tweet or we answer a question on Reddit or we give our opinion on Stack Overflow. So why does this matter? Again, why am I talking about being nice to y'all, right? Like, some of you, I'm sure, are plenty nice. See, I said some there. So why? Why does this matter? Because every single one of us make impressions on others. And because you are a member of the Go community, you reflect on that community. How many people in this room have been a Gopher for, well, because it's San Francisco, let's say for, and I know some of you, let's say for more than 5 years. Okay, 3 years. Okay. How many of you just joined the community in the last year? Yeah. So just keep your hands up for me, because you're awesome, and I love y'all. Look around. That is super normal. You can put your hands down now, sorry. That's super normal, actually. Like, everywhere I'm going, about half the room is new Gophers. And every interaction that you see, every talk that you hear, affects the way that you feel about the community, whether it's welcome, and affects the way what's accepted in your mind by the community. Am I wrong? Or am I right? You can go, yeah or no. Oh, yeah. Oh, I love hearing I'm right. Oh, that makes me happy. So generally our community is new and what you do matters. That's the gist of this. So I think something to really just talk about real quick is that everyone has bias. This is not a talk on like overcoming all your bias, don't have bias, it's bad. Yo, I got bias. I got lots of bias. And I think it's important that we do something, and this is the worst part for me. So I want you to take a moment and look at me. Oh wait, you already are, because I'm giving this talk. And look at me, and you can see a lot of the things I'm not, right? You can see that I don't have straight hair, because it was hard to straighten it the other day. Maybe you can see that I don't have blue eyes. They're not blue. Or green. I really wanted green eyes. Okay, we won't get into that. They're brown, which apparently are beautiful, is what my mom says. So you can see that I'm in heels, right? Which is not always normal when you see people walking in the Mission in the morning with red lipstick on. It's like this whole thing. You've made a bunch of judgments about me already. You've made judgments because you hear I work at the Goog. That's what I call it. I probably shouldn't. I might get in trouble if this is being recorded. It's okay. Make judgments about me. The reason we make judgments, the reason we have bias, the reason this happens is because we're human and we're relatively evolved creatures, and we have to make quick judgments to survive, right? This is life. You have to make quick decisions to figure out whether or not you're going to survive in any given situation or whether or not someone is safe. My ask here is, don't be limited by your instincts. Just move past them, think beyond them. And then I'm going to get deep, right? This is the point where it's like cresting, and then we get deep. And I think that, you just don't know. You've made all these judgments about me, which is okay. I'm not mad at you. And you don't really know me. Some of you know me better. But you only see what's on the surface. You only see what I'm delivering to you on stage right now. You don't know that I suffer from extreme anxiety, that I have suffered from depression for years, that 8 months ago, I realized I had PTSD and had repressed memories come up, and I couldn't leave the house. I couldn't even go to the grocery store to buy groceries for the kids. But you wouldn't know that, right? You wouldn't know how my day is. And I guarantee that some of you are like, yo, no way. I've known you a long time. I had no idea. And some of you are like, yeah, sometimes you're in a horrendous mood. I kind of figured you had some issues. But like a lot of people who see me on stage, and I'm kind of like one of those peppy people, I think. I'm trying. And they're like, I can't believe you have these problems. Yeah, well, everyone's got problems, right? Everyone has baggage. It's like that song, like, I've got issues, you've got them too. I love that song. I feels it. So just rise above your bias. Accept that you do not know everything about someone, that you do not know if what they had for breakfast is hurting their stomach, and that's why they're giving you a dirty look on their face. You don't know what they're going through that day, and try not to take everything too personally. So we have bias, and we're human. It's like, oh my gosh, this is just really intense for like early morning, opening keynote, like Cass, like you're kind of like bringing us down, like what's up? And it's like, how do we reconcile this? How do we be empathetic and collaborative? Well, okay, we could talk about that for a very long time, but I'm just gonna give 2 tips because they have been working, and so I haven't changed them. Very simply, like you're doing now, it's hard to listen for a long time, but that's what you can do. Just listen. Listen to what someone says. Consider that your immediate reaction is full of bias based on your own experience, but it dramatically differs from the other person. Especially online, internalize your bias before responding because generally you have the time. Take the 30 seconds. Take the 15 seconds. Delete the first thing you type. Understand that your own assumptions may or may not be true. Think about how someone would feel. I know, it's like, be nice. Accept the fact that someone else's perspective will never be your own, and that we just don't know. And in the specific context of our community, because, right, like you could take all of this and talk about any community, you could talk about just being us, just society. I think that it's important to just think back that I'm talking about building a community that you're a part of. More than likely, we will double again in the next year. And we'll be looking at 3 million users this time next year. Massive growth. So in the context of our community, let's be one that shows gratitude. Let's say thank you. It goes really far. The open source maintainers in the room, right, people who have even interacted and like tried to fix something online, knows that you get limited thank yous. And it can be really, really exhausting issue after issue after issue. When you can't think of anything nice to say, thank you for sharing your thoughts with me. I appreciate you looking into that. I'll look into it as well. I appreciate you taking the time on that. Thanks for letting me know it was incorrect. There's ways. We just have to practice. And if you and if all of you can do that, can just show that empathy online and that gratitude, someone else will see it and be like, you know what? That is a really nice way of doing that. I never thought of it, and they might do it. It's like that whole trickle thing. So no matter how something is perceived to be delivered to you, your reading tone, you're reading into something, what really matters and makes you the person that you are is how you respond to it. So, for example, again, I'll get sentimental. I am grateful for every single one of you. Without all of you, I would not be doing what I love. Every one of you is of value to me and the Go Project. You're part of this community that has been growing for years, this now decade-long journey. You're the people that will shape where our community goes. Despite what I'm saying on this stage, you can take my words or not, that's your choice. But it's your choice. You set the standards for how we communicate. And that's why I do this talk, because it seems kind of like, why are you doing this? But it's because you're the important ones in this room, not me. And all I ask is that you just pause and think about how you can be a little bit more empathetic in your responses. Thank you.